Hello students, today we shall learn a poem written by R.L. Stevenson. R.L. Stevenson, Robert Louis Stevenson, was born in 1815. He lived up to 1894. Only during the lifespan of 44 years, he has given a great contribution to the literature of English language. He has written many novels, poems, they are well known throughout the world till nowadays. Treasure Island, Kidnapped, and A Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde are known world over and read world over, also translated in many languages. His power of imagination was wonderful. Though his health was not well, he devoted his life for literature. Here is an imagination, poem of imagination, in which a young boy falls ill, becomes sick. He has to lie in his bed, and we know that young children do not like to remain lying in a bed. They will always be playing and running and going and jumping and dancing. But because of illness, sickness, this boy has compulsorily to lie in bed. He laid in bed, but his imagination flew beyond limits. Imagination did not lie in bed. As if hovering over in the world, he imagines like a great giant and his soldiers going forward to protect his land. The land of counterpane. Now, counterpane is an old word meaning bedspread. Bedspread. Let us read the poem about this young boy who imagines and creates a new world lying in his bed when sick. The boy thinks, when I was sick and lay in a bed. When I was sick and lay in a bed, a bed. Now this type of structure is found in Old English. A bed means in bed. Nowadays we don't use this type of structure, but in Old English and Old poetry, they used to write this way. We have read A Pretty Maid, a poem. Where are you going, my pretty maid? The maid answers, I am going a milking, sir. A milking means to sell milk. A milking, a bed. So a bed means in bed. When I was sick and lay a bed, I had 2 pillows at my head. Under my head there were 2 pillows, enjoying. And all my toys beside me lay to keep me happy all the day. And all my toys beside me lay on the bed sheet. The children are fond of toys. Toys create their imagination. Make the children happy. Fill them happiness. And sometimes for an hour or so, I watch my laden soldiers go. For hours, he would watch imaginationally. In his imagination, watch. To look at with attention. Watch my laden soldiers. Laden means made of lead. The toys of soldiers were made of lead, heavy. Laden soldiers go with different uniforms and drills. The soldiers were wearing different uniforms and marching, doing various types of drills. Drills means mass exercise. Among the bedclothes, through the hills. Over the bedclothes, through the hills. See how extraordinary imagination occurs in the mind of this young sick boy. And sometimes sent my ships in fleets. He would think that sometimes in the rivers from the ports, he would send his ships in a fleet. Fleet means group of ships. The group of ships is called fleet. What for? To trade in the world, in the countries far beyond, on the other side of the ocean. To reach there in those countries, we have to pass through the oceans, and therefore ships are required to sail in the sea. And sometimes sent my ships in fleets all up and down among the sheets. The sheets of his bed he imagined like the oceans, seas, as if the fleet of his ships would sail in the oceans for trading. Or brought my trees and houses out. His trees and houses toy trees, toy houses out, and planted cities all about. He would arrange small toy houses on the bed and put some trees, toy trees around them to make a city wonderful in his imagination. And real on his bed sheet with the help of the toys, and planted cities all about. I was the giant great and still, with all his possessions. He would feel himself great. He had soldiers to protect his land. He had houses for his people to live. He has trees on his land. He has rivers for his ships to sail and go abroad. And he is the owner of this empire. He imagines like this. I was the giant, great and still. Still means motionless. All his toys were obedient to him. No toy will stir on its own, move on its own. So he was the owner, the king, the supreme leader of his empire in his imagination. I was the giant great and still that sits upon the pillow hill. He had a couple of pillows under his head, and on the pillow hill, somewhere with his castle, he would sit proudly upon the pillow hill, enjoying supremacy, even though he was sick. And sees before him dell and plain. Now dell is a valley, especially in north of England. Dell is a valley in the northern region of England. Plain. Plain is a flat, big ground area. And see before him, before me, that is, the pleasant land of counterpane. The pleasant land of counterpane, that is on the bed, he would imagine himself the pleasant land. As far as young children are concerned, they have extraordinary power, wonderful power of imagination, and sometimes they forget the difference between reality and imagination. Their comprehension of reality and imagination becomes intermingled, intermixed, and that is somehow a wonderful experience that human consciousness indulges in. the material world before us and the insight in our consciousness, mind and brain communicate with each other. Thus, Robert Louis Stevenson expresses a wonderful capacity or quality of human consciousness in a child. The child may not be well trained. The child may not be well educated. The child may not be well experienced. But his power of feeling and sensation is supreme to adults, better than adults. Therefore, it is a fact that the duration of time that the children feel is rather longer compared to the duration of time felt by elderly people. This is somewhat difficult to understand, but suppose we go to watch a film in a theater. The duration of time is only, suppose, say 2 hours or 3 hours. But in this much short duration, during the observation of the picture, the film, we hover over a large span of time. The whole story of the film passes right in the 3 hours. Whereas in the film, it may put before us years to pass. So that is imagination passage of time. And it is always rather larger for children and shorter for grown-ups. Therefore, child age is the golden age of the human beings. Students, you try to learn these words and enjoy the poem. Thank you.